Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. Love is a powerful thing. It can be a lifeline, a reason to get up in the morning. But in a place like this, love can also be a weapon. It can be twisted, sharpened, used as a tool to pry open the locks on a cage. This is a story about that kind of love. About a man named Mateo and a woman named Jenna, and a plan that was born from a desperate love and ended in a brutal betrayal. Mateo was 5 years into a 25-year sentence. He was a charmer, a smooth talker, the kind of man who could make you believe in a future that was never going to happen. And Jenna was a believer. She had loved him since they were kids. She was there through the good times, the bad times, and now the impossible times. Every weekend, she made the long bus ride upstate, their 2-year-old son Leo in her arms, to sit across a plexiglass wall from the man she had promised to love forever. She was his anchor, his one connection to the world he had lost. But 5 years in a cage changes a man. The easy charm Mateo had on the streets had hardened into a sharp, patient manipulation. The reality of his sentence of the 20 years that still stretched out before him, like a barren desert, had started to eat away at his soul. He was desperate, and desperate men are dangerous. He started planting the seeds of his desperation in Jenna's heart. He stopped talking about the future in hopeful tones. He started talking about the slow, grinding death of prison life. He made his cage her cage. "This ain't living, Jenna," he'd whisper into the phone, his voice a low, urgent current. "This is just waiting to die. I see our son in pictures and he's a stranger to me. I can't do this for another 20 years. We can't do this." She would try to be strong for him. "We'll get through it, Mateo." We always do. But her own hope was wearing thin. The lonely nights, the struggle to pay the bills on her own, the pitying looks from her friends and family, it was a heavy load to carry. He sensed her weakness, her weariness, and he made his move. "I got a plan, baby," he said one day, his eyes burning with a feverish intensity. "A way out. For us. For our family." Her blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" "An escape," he whispered. The word was a bomb in the quiet visiting room. She was terrified. "Mateo, no, that's insane. You'll get caught. You'll get killed." But he was a master at playing the song she wanted to hear. He painted a picture of their life on the other side, a small house in a town where no one knew their names. Leo playing in the yard, a real family finally together, a life free from the shadow of the prison. "This is our only shot, Jenna," he pleaded, his hand flat against the glass. "Our one chance, and I can't do it without you. I need you to be my partner. My ride or die." He was asking her to throw away her life, her freedom, her son's future on his desperate long shot gamble. He was asking her to become a criminal. And as she looked into his eyes, at the man she had loved her whole life, she felt her own resolve begin to crumble. He wasn't just planning to break out of prison. He was planning to break her, too, to refashion her love and her loyalty into a key that would unlock his cage. And she, in her blind, desperate love, was about to hand it to him. The plan was a whisper, a secret shared across a plexiglass wall. Mateo had been studying the prison for years, not like an inmate, but like a burglar casing a job. He had found a flaw in the system, a ghost of a chance, an old forgotten service tunnel that ran under the prison wall, its entrance hidden in a back storage room in the workshop where he worked. The entrance was sealed with a rusted metal grate, the bolts half eaten by time. It was a long shot, but it was a shot. But he needed tools, something that could chew through those old bolts. Diamond-tipped drill bits, small, hard, and undetectable, and he needed a way to get them in. That's where Jenna and his own son became the heart of his plan. I need you to bring them to me, he told her. The words were a calm, simple command, but the request was monstrous. You hide them in Leo's diaper. They search the baby, but not like they search us. They'll never find it. Jenna felt the air leave her lungs. To use her child, their child, as a mule. To wrap his small, innocent body around a set of illegal tools and walk him into a prison. The thought was a physical violation. I can't, she said, her voice a choked whisper. Mateo, I can't risk him. He's our son. But Mateo was a master of turning love into a weapon. His voice turned cold, wounded. Risk him? Jenna, my life is at risk every single day in here. And you won't take one small chance to give our son his father back? I thought you loved me. I thought we were a family. He twisted her love, her guilt, her loneliness into a rope, and he pulled it tight. She spent the next week in a self-made hell, torn between the primal instinct to protect her child and the fierce, desperate loyalty she felt for the man she loved. Every time she looked at Leo, at his trust and innocent face, the answer was simple: number. But then at night, alone in her empty bed, she would think of Mateo, of the 20 years stretching out before him like a barren wasteland, and her resolve would crumble. In the end, the fantasy he was selling was too powerful. The dream of a life together, a life free from the shadow of his cage, was a drug, and she was an addict. She called him. Okay, she said, her voice flat, lifeless. I'll do it. The day of the visit, the world seemed to be moving in slow motion. She met Mateo's contact, a nervous, sweaty man, who handed her a small, heavy package. In her car, her hands trembling so badly she could barely function, she tucked the package deep into the padding of her son's diaper. It felt like she was hiding a snake in her own child's bed. The drive to the prison was a silent scream. She walked through the gates, her son on her hip, a shield and a sacrifice all at once. Every guard she passed was a potential accuser. Every beep of the metal detector was a judgment. But she kept walking, a sleepwalker in her own nightmare, a good woman on her way to becoming a criminal, all in the name of a love that had long ago turned to poison. The visiting room was a loud, echoing cavern of forced cheerfulness and quiet despair. Jenna held Leo on her lap, his small body a warm, heavy weight, the contraband hidden within his diaper a cold, terrifying secret. Mateo was at the table, his eyes shining with a predatory focus. He was an actor, playing the part of the loving father, but every glance, every touch was a part of the plan. They talked, the words meaningless, and a soundtrack to the silent, high-stakes drama playing out between them. Finally, the moment came. He's getting fussy, Jenna said, her voice tight. I need to change him. In the grimy bathroom, her heart hammered against her ribs. She laid her son on the changing table, his innocent eyes looking up at her. I'm so sorry, baby, she whispered. Her fingers, clumsy with fear, retrieved the small, hard package. She tucked it into the sleeve of her sweater, her own guilt, a sickening wave of nausea. Back at the table, Mateo took the baby, creating the perfect diversion, tossing him in the air, making him laugh. And in that one fluid, invisible moment, the package passed from her hand to his. It was done. She had just committed a felony in the heart of a state prison. The rest of the visit was a blur. Mateo was electric, triumphant. His words are torn of promises about their future. But Jenna was a ghost. She just nodded, smiled, her mind a screaming void of terror. The walk out of the prison was a gauntlet of fear. She was sure they would stop her, that they knew. But she was just another woman, leaving another man, invisible in the sea of sorrow that was the prison's weekly tide. When she finally got back to her car, the dam broke. She collapsed against the steering wheel, sobbing, a raw, ragged sound of a soul tearing apart. She looked in the rearview mirror at her son, sleeping peacefully, and a new, more terrifying fear took hold. What had she done? What if he got caught? They would take her son away. She would lose everything. She had risked her entire world on the desperate dream of a man in a cage, and now she was trapped in her own, a prison of fear and guilt from which there was no escape. The plan was in motion, but she was beginning to realize with a chilling certainty that even if he made it out, a part of her, the best part of her, would be locked away forever. The days that followed were a masterclass in psychological torture. Jenna was living on a knife's edge. Every ring of the phone, every knock on the door, a potential heart attack. She was a prisoner in her own home, haunted by the secret she was keeping. Mateo's calls from the prison were a strange, twisted mix of loving reassurance and cold, hard instruction. He was working, he told her. The drill bits were perfect. The wall was crumbling. He was coming home. His excitement was a stark, ugly contrast to her own terror. He spoke of their future, but all she could see was the terrifying precipice they were standing on. The lies she was living started to eat away at her. She became a ghost, moving through her life with a hollow, haunted look in her eyes. Her friends noticed. Her family noticed. They asked if she was okay. She just nodded, smiled, and lied. Lying was her new full-time job. And in the long, quiet nights, she started to see the truth. She replayed their life together. Not the romanticized version she had clung to, but the real one. She saw the selfishness, the manipulation, the way he had always put his own needs, his own desires before hers, before the son's. The escape plan, she realized, wasn't for us. It was for him. And she and their son were just acceptable collateral damage. The love she felt for him was still there, a stubborn, dying root. But it was being choked by the weeds of a new powerful emotion, resentment. The breaking point came, as it often does, in a small, quiet moment. She was at the park with Leo. He was on the swings, flying high, his laughter a pure, uncomplicated sound of joy. And as she watched him, a simple, profound, and devastating truth cut through the fog of her own confusion. My job is to protect him, and everything I am doing is putting him in danger. This isn't love. This is a sickness. In that moment, she made a choice. It was the hardest, most painful choice of her life, but it was also the clearest. She was done being his accomplice. She was done being a prisoner of his desperate dreams. She was a mother, and she was going to protect her son. She drove home, a strange, cold calm settling over her. She knew what she had to do. It was a betrayal. It was a salvation. It was both. She walked to a payphone on the corner, the receiver cold against her ear. She dialed the number for the state prison. When the operator answered, her voice was a steady, anonymous whisper. "I have a tip for you," she said. "You need to do a shakedown in the workshop in D Block. Inmate Mateo Reyes, he's planning an escape, and he has tools." She hung up the phone. She had just condemned the man she loved to a living hell, but she had also just saved her son. And as she walked home, for the first time in a long time, she felt like she could breathe again. His escape plan was over. And hers, the long, hard journey back to herself, had just begun. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.